of South Carolina, and welcome to the new season of our poetry reading series. I am Emily Rosko. I'm an associate professor of English at the College of Charleston, and I am the vice president of the Poetry Society. I'm filling in tonight for President Tamara Miles, who with deep regrets was unable to be here. And I want to just also say welcome to those of you who are tuning in virtually on our Zoom. A few quick announcements before the reading. For those of you that are here in person, there is a sign-in sheet near the door that we ask you to please sign. We're grateful to the Library Society for partnering with us and allowing us to use this beautiful space. And the Library Society requests that we keep count of attendance, and thus the importance of adding your name to the sign-in sheet. So thank you for doing that before you leave today. This is a good moment too to silence or turn off your phones. Thank you. This is also a good moment to let you all consider either renewing or signing up anew for a Poetry Society of South Carolina membership for this year, if you've not done that yet. The membership fees are what make events like tonight's possible. If you sign up today, and there are sheets in the back, you will receive a free copy of Dana Levin's book, which I forgot my show and tell copy I was going to flash up here. Thank you. Yes, first eight people get it for free. It's $15 for students, $30 for an individual, and $40 for a family. Did I get that right? Good. And you can pay online, right? You don't have to have cash or check. You can do it all online. For anyone who's watching virtually, if you decide to sign up, then we'll get your mailing address and mail you a book. So tomorrow's seminar with the visiting poet Melissa Crowe will be held here from 10 to 12, and it's going to be free to all attendees. We ask that if you can, please RSVP through our website. That helps us keep count of who's coming. There will also be a Zoom option for those who would like to listen to the discussion. The limitation of the Zoom option is that you're not really going to be able to be an active participant in the discussion. The materials for tomorrow's seminar are available to be picked up tonight. For those who are attending virtually, you can email President Miles in order to receive the materials. And all of this information too that I'm saying now can be found on our website. So I'm just going to pause a minute. I'm supposed to maybe just ask, are there any announcements that any members would like to share? Is there anything that needs to be said or shared that I haven't covered so far? Okay, hearing none, hearing no responses, we'll move on. I do have one more announcement, and that is that today is the former Poetry Society of South Carolina president, current treasurer Jim Lundy's birthday. We're glad, we hope that those of you who are here, So we hope that those of you that are here in the room with us will join us in celebrating Jim and his dedicated service to the Poetry Society with some cake, thanks to Beth, after the reading, okay? All right, I think I'm done with announcements. Now it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's opening reader. Tanner Crunelle studied cultural theory, literature, and the U.S. South as a student at the College of Charleston Honors College. And since graduating in 2020, he has shared his critical humanities research internationally. He currently is a Woodfin Fellow in the MFA Creative Writing Program at C of C, and he concurrently studies at the European Graduate School as a MA student in philosophy, art, and social thought. Tanner is an editorial assistant at Swamp Pink. That's the literary journal that was formerly Crazy Horse. And he assists in outreach and research with Addlestone Library's South Carolina LGBTQ archives. And in his free time, gosh, he has free time, I envy that with all of that, he mentors LGBTQ plus students. He's student leaders at C of C, and he serves on the College of Charleston Foundation Board of Directors. Okay, let me start with a quick gushy admission. Tanner Crunelle's poetry makes me happy. His poems make me want to write. His language is musical and buoyant. There's a vivacious intelligence afoot throughout Tanner's work, a glittering and brisk self-awareness, a coy sense of wordplay and poetic voicing. Tanner's poems flirt sometimes with dandyism, and then in sudden vivid turns, his poems also interrogate the powerful appeals of what language can do, how it can define and shape us. His poems set our ears aflame. I promise you that'll happen tonight. They challenge us as they revel in the textures of poetic discourse. So please welcome Tanner Crunelle.
Thank you, Emily, and everyone here for sharing your Friday evening. I can't help feeling at war with the elements under this fierce onslaught of rain, with just a sad umbrella as sword and shield. Harriet Mullen for this evening. So let's see, I have a few poems to share. One is brand new, so I'll start with this one. Jazz with You. The trill and spotlight, the soprano and bass, the smooth and bossa nova, the solo and spread, the rhythm and flow, the keys and go, the stand and sound, the notes and words, the cymbal and snare, the wife brush and splash, the groove and jam, the beat and bump, the lights and sputter, the texture and blare, the foot and soul, the disintegration and worship, the holes and trickling, the ascent and smoke, the bump and quiet plateau, the wail and slip, the loss and grip, the funk and lip and clip, the pierce and clap, the standing clapping. We are still in our youth, the pitch and wiggle, the honk and screech, the gleam and rise, the riff and twang, the puncture and sink. Stop that prattle. Here we go. When I finally forgot your last name, clemency. Intimate clementines, cluck-clack ceramic, decorous ginkgo, glowering, gloved flowering, flack, you phlegmatic, four-legged maniac, now cupped tongue, coo, cooped chicken, chickens in coops, wired in and flightless, you stacked up in the bed of a careening truck, swerving tautologies and a place to arrive, and feathery crash, flying coops, bok, 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 and quiet whiplash of forgetting, whiplash from, due to, because with, by, independent of, forgetting. Amnesia, clumsy remembering, blimpy refusal, zestful rejection, ignoring, rejoice, forgot. Strewn vertebrae triangulate for a new image, empty on those bases, umpire struck, out but, bat crack, bad call, no call, I'm sorry I don't recall, gone now, home run, team of one. This is from a series of poems I'm writing about the seasons, the 4 seasons, which are fall, winter, spring, and summer. A year and a half of solitude reversed. Icarus fall. All is ungluing, all is unstapling, all is unwaxing, all is waning. My wings, my thinkings, pried open by the sun. No one hears my yelp and all unglues. I, my feather flying wings, my weather wying flings, all melty and gooped up and shrieking on their fall. Summer, sadly. You look inscrutable, a waterlogged book, doused and drowned theories, melted bright ice cream ruined, unsightly cracked and bleached leather flip-flops. I am hardened, dyed, eyed, drowned, dyed, dried, hardened. Spring things. Siphon the dim dust, the dimming dust at dusk, the dust falls on dimmable things. Whirled up to a spinning cloud, that of particular sandblasting from floor to the sky of a Christful day. Watch I succumb to wisdom and other sinister things. Fucking winter again. I want to be coerced into working by a formal institutional structure because I would rather suffer in a known way. A million declensions hang, swinging before you, addictions and disintegrations to make you shudder, fish flop into some dry, cold hole and freeze. Bacchanalian dance. Cornucopian, hungry, so full, so full, keep eating, can't sleep, keep eating, can't sleep, keep eating, don't sleep. There they are, there they go, there they are juicy and sweet, there they are picked, there they are stuck and sticky, there the orbs glob and cluster and juice in the dark. Summer launch. Lichen freckles the smoothed fiberglass of the houseboat, old and broken. And so we set our sights on sailing. Last spring we sowed cotton, it grew, we picked and spun and weft and wove and readied. Now we go with marvelous bright white sheets. Spring games. I know the rules. Eggs guzzle, lemons muzzle. Sputter crash and gutter much unmuttered. Can we reconcile talking and knowing without having danced? We prance and strut and stretch. We hide and seek new words. Simon Says, which is not part of the poems about seasons. Simon says, move the body, shake the feet, rattle eyes, shudder spine. Do as I say, not as I do. A smirk besmirches my words. Lose because your muscles trusted. Simon Says, express yourself. Follow your dreams, follow your path, follow directions, follow the process to file complaints, follow my voice, follow the words, follow chicaning, follow the curse, follow for caning, follow the purse, follow God, follow Obad, follow migration of oily clod. Follow the failing, follow my flailing, follow the jailing, follow the bailing, follow the fallowing ripe winter fields, follow to cloister of old moray eels, follow the leader, follow weed eater, follow the rules and everyone freed, follow duplicitous speaking and speech, follow your heart right from the start, heaving and wheezing is all modern art, follow the snipping, follow the snapping, follow the zippering, follow the zappering, follow the laughter, follow the clapping, follow democracy, follow the truth, follow the person who's better than you, look at the scale, follow my eyes, follow the guys who taught you to sail, follow the rhythm, follow the rhyme, follow the time, follow the lime. If you're a someone, you've done a crime, follow giraffe, follow the laugh, follow the lighthearted trail of the shaft. Snail up to sea, right next to me, suspended in time by royal decree. Do what you want, follow your dreams. Everything's better than what it perseems. Follow convention, follow the new, follow the surging vicissitudes. Thanks. Okay, I suppose I have one more. Yes, okay. Cotton candy. I am faded pink or blue, which have the same flavor. I am flossy, I am wispy, I am held together by barbed strands. I am spun, I am worn, I am tightly bound when I wake up, then I disintegrate. I am torn apart for someone's eating. I am beaded up and darkened by someone's eating. I am strewn and my smooth shell is broken. I am flocculent and unbecoming. I am more but less serious edges. I am a white paper dunce cap. I am a unicorn horn. I am causing a sugar rush. I am disorganized and loosely composed. I am from a whirring machine. I am made by a confectionate hand. I am affectionately thought. I am being licked and munched. I am awaiting redemption.
Thank you, Tanner. See, I'm not as tall as you. It's so nice to see everybody. This is my first time back in person, so for the Poetry Society. It's my honor to introduce Melissa. Take this off. There it is. My students haven't seen it yet. Melissa Crowe is the author of the 2019 collection, Dear Terror, Dear Splendor. Her second book, Low, recently won the Iowa Poetry Prize and will be published by Iowa Press in 2023. Woohoo. Her work has appeared recently in Four-Way Review, New England Review, Poetry, and Poetry Northwest. And she was the 2021 winner of the Robert H. Winter Memorial Award from the Poetry Society of America. She's a former editor of the Beloit Poetry Journal and currently coordinates the MFA program at UNCW, where she teaches poetry and publishing. To read Melissa's work is to fall a little bit more in love with the everyday. This collection came into my hands at the beginning of lockdown, a time in which our collective responsibility was to stay home, to watch and wait, to not catch it, not catch it, not catch it. And so we held our breath and each other, and there was terror, yes, but also failed homemade breads and birds building nests and tenderness and somehow splendor. Melissa's poems managed to hold that dichotomy in the most intimate and surprising ways. As in Minimalist Manifesto, in which the speaker lists all that she is without, yet asserts that it's this very lack that forms something essential. She writes, "Whatever there is, I'm all right. Whatever there isn't. Alone, I carve each craving to its bone." Or when in the stunning poem, Elegy for Fireflies, the speaker reveals that the conception of a child is necessarily tied with fear. There you were, buzzing with blood. There you were, but what had been born already was your loss, and we'd go nowhere without it anymore. What I think is most moving about this collection, and like all of your work, is that it springs out from a life fully lived. These poems come from a wisdom earned from the trenches of aging, the quiet joys of a long marriage, the weariness of witness, the stubborn gladness of merely staying alive. As in Melissa's poem, Perpetual Beginner, in which she writes, "Some days I take it personally, the way the years have amounted to this. Tonight, I just fall asleep in your arms, and like magic, I'm somebody's baby again." Please welcome Melissa Crowe.
Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Danny, for that beautiful introduction and for inviting me. Thanks to everyone in the Poetry Society of South Carolina and for the Library Society for this beautiful space. Thank you, Tanner, for those poems, which you know, I'm not going to do a whole inventory, but my ears are burning, my cheeks. Your poems have the electricity of the experience of words getting a little bit unstuck from their things, but also the thrill of a sudden true thing, an assertion, a statement, right? They move back and forth between those two registers, which is so exciting. So thank you for getting everybody warmed up for me. After that sort of 1-2 punch, I kind of want to lie down, but I'm gonna stand up here and read. I'm gonna read. This is my first time hearing someone say that I have a new book coming out, and my first time saying, you know, one book could be a fluke, so you get pretty excited when you manage a second one. I'm going to read from both books. This is my first time being able to say that too. I'm going to start with Dear Terror, Dear Splendor. I'm going to read a lot of books about being poor, but somehow I think they're sexy. So we'll see what you think. Okay, I'm going to start with French food. And it's not the kind of French food you're going to get on this street. It's a different kind. French food, Presque Isle, Maine, 1980. We ate creton, paste of pig's head and onion. We ate deer steak fried in grease and blood, government cheese and waxy orange blocks. Some meals come almost free if you'll forage, if you'll hunt, and we did. The purple meat of rabbits graying in our big tin pot. We ate trout after trout, their silver bellies battered, white flesh threaded with tiny bones and sometimes worms. We ate fiddleheads, baby ferns, tight curls loosening in brackish water, melted butter. Potatoes hauled up daily from the cellar dark never lost their dirt scent, their dirt taste, no matter how scrubbed and peeled and charred. While we ate, we breathed kerosene, skunk and blood and lilac, mixed with my grandfather's sweat rising from his work clothes. It blackened his hands and seasoned our stews, our slices of spongy white bread sopping kerosene off the air, off our plates. We swallowed all of this and knew just where we were and who. I'm always in the mood for uncles. I don't know if anybody else has interesting uncles. I have a band of what do I want to say about them? They're terrifying and splendid, my uncles. And there's a lot of them in this book. So I'm going to read the uncles. The uncles steal for you kittens and bicycles, build garbage fires in the yard, the sour heat, a kind of magic, and cupping hands to mouths, they make harmonica music. But when they spread their fingers, air. The uncles are everywhere. Thumbing fish guts in the sink, motoring the street on painted hogs, and when they pull you up, helmetless in your sundress, your legs burn till eyes closed, clutching, there's nothing but sweat and uncle and speed. The uncles eat onions like apples, need hot dogs and pain meds, their pelvises in pieces from the car wreck. They ask you to barefoot their bare backs, give you silver dollars for this service. And with their soft red afros and muscled chests and good voices for country, they sing, mamas, don't let your babies grow up. Their hooks dangling the creek. They cook trout on the grill of concrete blocks lifted from construction sites, the scent of smoke and fat and joy. The uncles live in your house, or in trailers, or with girlfriends or ex-girlfriends, women with leather vests and ass-length white blonde hair. The uncles work at the fair, reek of kerosene and fried dough, sneak you in through a fence hole. Pin snips and arm scrapes, and summers you slip into the public pool after hours, silence of night and slap of water and laughter of uncles. And when the cops come, as they do, you cry. The uncles in cuffs, their forearms like fish bellies, knife slit in a bar fight, or their heels crushed, chased over cliff edge or roof edge by the husband of some white blonde woman who maybe cries with you in the kitchen. One uncle dragged away, but don't worry, you say. There are other uncles where that uncle came from. You're sure one split uncle can pour forth more, like scarves from a sleeve. You have to believe in a stream of party-colored uncles, endless as a sky tattooed with prison blue stars. Morning portrait for Uncle Steve. Because of you, I never believed when anybody called anybody a bad man for some bad thing he'd done. I knew you. Gentle, funny, generous, on furlough from Thomaston, where you'd served 10 years for shooting a man without meaning to kill him. And my aunt, leaning out of a decade of psychosis and psoriasis, married you in jail. Monthly, she drove the 100 miles in her 70s sedan, and along for the ride, I sprawled the back seat with my cousins, watching pavement pour past through a rusted hole in the floor. Its edges ragged, its allure magnetic to my eyes, already tuned to escape. At the prison, I waited in the car. So I'm only imagining a room like a cafeteria, tables that smelled of sour rags, flanked by vending machines stocked with Baby Ruth and Tab, cousins smudging the glass with their empty hands while Aunt Jolene spent her touch-free half hour in your company. But I remember the days after your early release, the barbecue at your mother's house where we celebrated your freedom with charred chicken legs and homemade pickles and ear after ear of corn, so sweet and bright. At dusk, you took us kids into an empty field and lit sparklers with your Bic. You handed off each burning, spitting stick like a borrowed cigarette for us to hold fearfully or wave fast, figure eights of light against the blackening sky. And even later, while you played harmonica on the porch and the cousins danced in tall grass and a garbage fire smoked and the blue light outside the screen door devoured mosquitoes with a staccato of electric snaps, I found a stack of family albums in the cupboard under the TV in your mother's living room and turned their pages till horror overcame curiosity. Snapshot after snapshot of dead children, their tiny faces pinched and powdered, limbs arranged in christening gowns against the padded satin of their coffins. I'd see those faces in dreams for years, and yours too. Not long freed, you got a job on a harvester, and one dawn sat at a crossroads in the pickup of the guy you'd bummed a ride from. Maybe he was shaking off sleep or hungover, just stupid. In any case, he inched into the intersection of those two farm roads seconds before a Mack truck crushed everything we thought would happen when you got out. I don't believe you get what you deserve, or that good things come to those who wait. And I don't believe either that every picture is worth 1,000 words. Some give rise mainly to silence, set of little losses, their mouths shut tight against goodbye. I'm going to move on to a straight up love poem, and it is Uncle-less. I think it's called Grounded. And it has an epigraph from Robert Frost. Earth's the right place for love. I don't know where it's likely to go better. I was 11 years old when I decided to stay on this planet. Girl meets astronaut, plans moonwalk, spacewalk, untethered swoon, hieroglyphs of smoke write disaster against the Cape Canaveral sky. That year, my mother miscarried twice, and I knew a kid who died at sleepaway camp. Bee stung reading comics in her bunk, my cousin killed coming home from fishing. Summer dusk, some drunk in the wrong lane. The US bombed Libya, and I watched Alex, the life of a child, till the tape snapped. All that blood in the sink, and the moment she thinks she sees God. Born to a teen barmaid and a married alcoholic, I saw Michael Reagan tell Donahue, illegitimate children can't be saved. Ransacked my Bible for that live and stopped going to church. Called myself an atheist, stubborn litany that made my best friend cry. You'll never go to heaven, she sobbed at the slumber party. None of us are going anywhere, I told her. Wouldn't allow myself the 73 seconds that crew believed they'd break out. Never mind, there are footprints in the lunar dust. Never mind, there are those who know how this place looks, pale blue dot from up there. Down here, my stepfather wakes soaked in my mother's blood again, and I bite every prayer that sneaks into my mouth till I taste metal. Down here, 16, I spot you in Spanish class, and I'm filled with heat and light. The way your lips move, it is too. Your kind eyes, the color of your faded jeans, and I know what this means. I'll have to lift off in ill-starred conditions every day. I'll have to speed toward the breach, burning with belief, second after second after second. And then, no surprise, we had a baby. That's what happens, kids. This one's called Waiting Song with dioramas, 9 months pregnant. My husband hates a predator, can't abide fang or claw, but at the museum, I adore the frozen scenes behind glass. Time stopped at last, so my own slowed brain can take what it wants. The polished eye, the plaster teeth almost clash a beast and lesser beast. I need the unnatural stillness, nascent space in which nothing transpires yet. Each moment a dusty frond that always and never delicate cannot unfurl. But also waiting, I wish to resign myself to nature. At each tableau, I say like a mantra, these things happen. Till my man, himself a tender shoot, his hand softly at the small of my back presses me toward the next window. My body, swollen with cargo, I'll carry forward, then let go whether I wish it or not. Is happy to linger here too, where early humans squat by a meager fire, shearing meat from bones, a woman nursing blankly, nipples that droop to her lap. Or here, where a couple, heavy-browed and lightly furred, but otherwise built like us, regards a terrifying bird just wing beats from their necks. My husband, himself expecting, himself a clenched fist, prepares to hurl his body between even this still threat in any hunted thing. Rabbit, steel, waxy baby swaddled in its sleep. And this one's called Love Song with Vehophobia. That's an actual word and an actual problem I have. It means fear of driving. Somebody drives me everywhere you see me, including here. Love Song with Vehophobia. That dream of skulls like eggshells, their terrible marrow, the vein in your wrist, daughter, the vein in your neck, collision of bird and glass, and the idea of your organs like birds. Some of us are alive now, and some of us are dead. My uncle's pelvis, puzzled pieces, his chest a sunken steering wheel, open rear window, a cousin flying, flown. I saw him later on a stretcher, like a cat under blankets. The black bag at his mouth, my mother said, would help. I remember the day we brought you home. Your father steady at the wheel, but the sun looked crazy, and the other cars full of strangers who couldn't know how long I'd waited, how your birth split me. I sat next to your car seat, one hand on your robin's egg head, the other moving over you, not sure which part to protect. And anyway, apart from home, where is there to go that's worth the risk? Not fishing, not shopping, certainly not Jesus Christ, the airport. My cousin is dead. A little ghost at the foot of his father's bed, that wheel still pressed into my uncle's chest, and something presses my chest too. The day is bright, daughter. The house, okay. Let's stay. I'm gonna read just a couple more poems from this collection and then move on to some newer work. This poem, I have a brother who is addicted to opiates. He's in recovery now, but I have, there are some poems in the book about the period when that was not the case. This one's called For Gifted Garden. And for gifted means both poisoned and forgiven. That long, ugly winter over, I still can't put aside the death of the young giraffe at Copenhagen, shot by keepers while he licked chunks of rye bread in a zoo. And I'm sad because, brother, you're always lying. Today you called to say you're mad with pain from kidney stones the size of walnuts, and since you can't have painkillers, you've asked the doctor again for the methadone our father has begged she not prescribe. I cry for the stones which don't exist and which you say may take months to pass, and for your mutilating need, which does and will never. I can't walk the prettiest road in our neighborhood this spring, the one with flowering trees that rain pink blossoms that brown almost before they hit the ground and fill the air with a scent like dying jasmine and starfruit. Because a rabbit lies melting into a tuft of grass in front of one house unrented since March. Did you know, after they culled that healthy calf wrong for the breeding scheme, they fed his body to lions while a crowd watched from behind a fence? I can't look too long at little boys at the grocery store, the park, with freckled cheeks like yours and curly hair so thick and cut so short, it looks like fur. Did you know the Danish word for poison is gift? You tried heroin at 14. What did you want? You nuzzled from some sweet hand while another you couldn't detect reached around to seize your slender neck. I know I look harmless and cheerful, and it's kind of a fake out, isn't it? Sorry. I should wear a t-shirt everywhere that says I bring the pain, right? The last poem that I'll read from this collection is the title poem, Dear Terror, Dear Splendor. Yes, I realize wishing all the horrors that will ever befall me or that I'll ever witness or hear about or even imagine were over already might be the same as wishing to be dead. But what can I say? Dear Terror, Dear Splendor, Annabelle got her learner's permit today. Remember when that chicken pecking for feed bit her finger and I spent months fearing tetanus? Remember when a bat bloomed into the house through a hole in the window screen and my brain throbbed rabies for a year? Or when she cut her foot, hit her head, coughed black blood, was born with a fever, a soft spot, a self? Dear Terror, driving home on date night, we came upon a group of teenagers who, bound for the prom, had struck a deer and stood in the street, bewildered by its body. So other drivers swerved around their sobbing, sequined Congress, which caused one car to somersault, and I saw an arm cut loose from its window and still do. Often I am made love to so sweetly, dear Splendor, so expertly that the world ceases to exist or simply doesn't matter. Birth and death and blood and breath compressed this body, this bed. Dear Splendor, dear Terror, we doubled our danger this way or grew it by a factor I don't know how, don't want to name. Nights I still step into the slatted moon glow of our child's bedroom, our child, 17, stretched aslant, asleep across her double bed, banking hours against the forever she'll soon start spending, not here. And if I can't see in that near dark her torso rise and fall, I lean in and listen for her breath. I've heard it every time so far. Joke's on me, she's back. She graduated from college. Forever hasn't started yet. It's on pause. It's okay, it's fine. Okay, thank you so much for your kind listening. I'm going to do a few poems from the new book. And this first one's called I Want to Tell You What Poverty Gave Me. A life outside capital, though I know it doesn't seem to make sense, given my grandfather's knuckles, cold, cracked, and smelling always of kerosene, my uncle's back permanently bent in the shape it took to lay 2 decades worth of brick. For afternoons spent shaking down sofas and chairs, fingers slid between car seat and console, seeking coins for a hot dog at Susan's Market or a pack of my mama's Merit menthols or to pay the paper boy, sometimes somebody's father who needed the money too. Maybe the early bus to subsidy breakfast, first time I saw yogurt, heaping pans of the stuff, that sweet pale purple spooned into its compartment on my tray next to a little box of some cereal we couldn't get with vouchers, frosted flakes or fruity pebbles, and my choice of peanut butter, gone warm and soft, or a single melted slice of cheese like a slick of cartoon sunshine on white toast. Fresh delights I paid for only in shame. And look, a line of rocks plucked from the nearest ditch showed 12 shades of earth from gray to pink, and Nana said the one ringed with a stripe of quartz was a wish, lucky, like the park with its pond full of tadpoles or the library shelf of mangled pop-up books nobody could check out, but anybody could touch. Flat paper and then turn the page or pull the tab, a world. Maybe it was Gran bringing me the things she found in hotel rooms she cleaned, transistor radio, a abridged copy of Kidnapped, and once a waist-high bowling trophy, me winning, no matter whose name was etched in the plate. Or maybe the way we ran a hot bath only once, and together my mother and I dulled its sheen with ivory suds, our dirt, before my father lowered himself into the gone cool water. How this necessary sharing somehow welcomed me nightly to the difficult world. Maybe my mother holding my hand while we carless walked through near dusk blizzard from our place on one side of town to her brother's in low income on the other. So we were swallowed and swallowed as we moved through undifferentiated space, no knowing whether the ground beneath us was front yard or sidewalk or street. And when we arrived in the warm somewhere of my uncle's apartment, which might have been floating in the ocean or moored on the dark side of the moon, judging by the blackened windows and the scarcely muted cosmic howl of the storm, the local news was on. And there we were, I swear it, in the weather report, my mother in her old blue coat, and hidden under mine I knew was a chain of red crochet she'd made to join my mittens so they wouldn't be lost. And if in that vast wildness we were so tiny we could barely make out the specks of ourselves, what was this wealth? Practically fractal, nearly out of body. In this moment, lifted from time, we were famous to ourselves. Beings in the world, not once, but look, twice. So who knew? Who knew how many times we could appear, or where? Maybe that was the winter we lived in a rental without a working refrigerator, cartons of milk lodged in the snow outside the front door, the stuff always a little frozen when we drank it, those crystals too, a magic we made because we could, because we had to. I even ate the snow. And a big bowl with Kool-Aid, scrappy sub for the slush puppies I'd yearn for come summer, pick bottles to buy. And here I am talking again about buying things, but what I hoped you'd see is that so often for stretches of days, we couldn't, free. Poet loves hunter, though she'll eat no meat. No way to hear the word merganser and not think about my father, who spoke it so tenderly, by which I mean precisely, just the way he schooled his retriever to hold the bird itself in a soft mouth to prevent the dogs developing a taste for flesh. Once he gave me the wing of a partridge, bit of gristle at the hinge still tinged with dried blood, and when you palmed that silken thing and pressed its knob of cartilage, it opened. Display of dun-colored feathers, as if to fly. And somewhere in memory, too, I hold rabbit's foot after rabbit's foot, though my father did not like to hunt then, said when shot, they cried like babies, made him sad. Not the garish dime store kind my friends hung from their backpacks by a link of chain, dyed cherry red or shocking pink, just the soft pale fur, no copper cap to hide the bone, which jutted sharp right where it had been broken off. That's not the part I rubbed between my finger and my thumb, but might have tongued it once. Best way to know a thing is to taste it. This is the title poem from the new collection. It's called Low. At the Bible camp, there were horses, massive hay-smelling beasts I couldn't ride without the $5 for the upcharge. At the horse camp, lo, there were Bibles, free green leatherette with uncracked spines, and I'd soon cracked mine. With a marker, lit each begat every revelation, then held the wild thing closed during night church, touching its sticker, Wiggle-eyed line with a speech bubble that read, "I'm a king's kid." Afterward, in the deeper dark of the cabin, crowded with 3-story bunks, so many girls praying, then asleep above me, I wrote on myself with my finger, "When I wake, I will be satisfied." But next morning stood longing in the sawdust of the barn where the horses ambled out of reach and perched in every saddle, a girl with bare legs and boots straddling. Later, when Pastor Steve and his cowboy hat and pearl button shirt waved the good book and said, "Raise your hand if you haven't yet been saved," my arm shot up, though I'd been saved and saved. Year before at Calvary Baptist, year before that at Vacation Bible School, where I'd won a golden lapel pin. Jesus loves me for memorizing more Psalms than anybody. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Our bodies cling to the ground. Still I climb the steps to join him on the stage, say yes again to God. I'd be a king's kid, God damn it. Confess enough times to finally make it stick. Feel the grace I glimpsed on the pastor's scrubbed clean face. I will not violate my covenant or alter what my lips have said. At the Bible camp, at the horse camp, breath huffed from velvet snouts rose and low, sweet breath from girls' slack mouths gathered at the ridge beam, maybe slipped through. My breath too. Sure, as I pressed hot hands together, asked the silence for what on waking nights I think I still might want. To be lifted from my life by some animal bigger than me. Possessed of lungs, wet eyes, silken flanks, I burn. Lowing low, feet in sawdust, head upturned. Okay, it's fair to give people warning when you're relying on their patience, but I have 3 more. Okay, I'll tell you what helped. Listening to Billie Jean in my shag carpeted bedroom, combing and combing Barbie's crimped hair, all that perfect plastic silk. Sliding her in and out of her pink gown, her canopy bed, and crying helplessly after the girl down the hall, who I'd kissed the night before in the field of milkweed behind our building with my hand between our mouths, our bodies so neatly aligned, brought her mother to the door to tell mine I'd said the F word on the bus, a lie, howling out that grief, and then my mother believing me. Staying home sick the next day to watch 3-2-1 Contact, eat cold pork chops under an Afghan on the couch. My mother believing me. Mr. Rogers' slow coaxing timber, his insistence on the existence of beauty inside. To see him sprinkle the water above the goldfish with flakes that drew them with a swiftness almost too instant to believe. Their yearning, that relief. Then the bloodhound gang, all rangy limbs and tennis shoes and sweatbands, getting to the bottom of things. Afternoons spent marking the grayish paperback pages of Judy Blume with Cheeto fingerprints and practicing the recorder. Its unsteady music like the mournful breaths of an animal I thought I knew. My classmate Kelly's ribboned coil of hair, her piano hands. Watching her strange, smart mouth move while she talked about her aching love of the dog she couldn't have because of her sister's asthma. So well, I understood this longing for some persistent warmth, some trusted muzzle, creature with teeth, sure, but it won't ever bite me. My adoration persevered, even after she said, sorrowful but resolute, that if faced with a choice to save a dog or me from a burning building, she'd choose the dog. Not her dog, see above, she didn't have, but any dog at all. It helped to love her. I'm saying it hurt to love her, but I did. Okay, 2 more. Lessons for Mark. At 4, I learned from my uncle's forearm split wrist to elbow and leaking blood on Formica tabletop and linoleum floor that strangers in dive bars or on the very streets I walked in daylight with my mother to the grocery store or park will cut you. 8 years old, I learned from uncle's drunken cries and how he pounded fists against his pickup that a brother can break your heart. And from that brother, I learned there are things you'll steal, even from people you love, if you want them bad enough. At 12, I learned from my aunt wrenching child from husband and toward her lover's car that bitterness binds us sometimes surer than love. The distinction blurred in a boozy driveway, their firstborn dead 3 summers, and Tom Petty's gritty croon, an 8-track soundtrack pouring from lover's roll-down window, and he doesn't get out, just sits with his sunburned arm flicking ash on the pavement like he's got all night to wait. I was 16 when I learned my grandfather could no longer tell me from my mother or that year from 1975, Sandy. He kept saying that bitch sat on the shed roof, waving a whiskey bottle and laughing while they buried my mother. And by bitch, he meant my gram, from whom I'd learned men are hooks I shouldn't let into me, and that it's okay to sleep alone without drawers on under my nightdress. At 17, I learned no house is emptier than one you beg to be left in while your father takes your mother south again to have the cancer out, hopefully, but definitely her uterus and whatever else they find eaten by the stuff that made her bleed so much on the bed the mattress couldn't be saved. Even with the dog in the yard, I didn't feel as brave as I thought I would. And though I could see my grandfather's house from the porch of my own, I didn't go there where I'd be called by the wrong name. Instead, I called you, and you came, as you always did, and as you still do, with a carton of 5 Alive and a fistful of daisies, and you said, Melissa, Melissa, and I let you in. I let in whatever that might bring, and you touched me in ways that made me forget, want to forget every single other thing I'd ever learned. Okay, the last one is called When We're in Bed and You Take Out Your Mouth Guard, I Know It's On. If you know, you know. Like when 17, I'd slide into your Beetle and you'd head out of town. Summer daylight and parked among the furrows of some field, you'd reach for the wool blanket. I knew you'd maneuver then into the cramped quarters between passenger seat and glove box, blanket over your head in my lap where you'd sweat and sweat until I cried out. Or further back, first winter of our courtship, nearing curfew, when we'd watched Predator again from the Braden's Lovers Row. You'd slow to a halt at the last stop sign before my house. I knew we'd linger there under the street lamp's acid glow, and you'd ask if I had to go home. Yes, I'd say, I better, soon. But I knew you wouldn't hit the gas. Not for the longest time, 3 minutes, 5, and snow falling, and the silent streets carless. I'd lift my top. You'd unzip my jeans and treat the expanse of soft skin between shirt hem and underwear like sex itself. Your worshipful mouth, my whole body lit from within and without. Or even further back, how I knew by the first electric touch of our fingers in that dark theater, like a secret handshake. I know you. I need you. Like an exchange of life force between 2 aliens from planets never before joined across the cold, airless terror of space. That it was on. That it was on and on and on forever. Thank you.
Wow, that was stunning. Thank you, Melissa. What a wonderful evening to kick off our season. Thank you, Tanner, too. There are books for sale. Buxton Books representatives are in the back and they have copies of Melissa's first book. Don't forget that if you sign up for membership, you get a free copy of Dana Lemon's book. Thank you again to our poets. Can we give them one more round of applause? And the The very last thing I have to tell you is to please join us Friday, October 14th, same time and place, 7 p.m. here for our next reading, which is featuring Han Vanderhart and Evelyn Berry. Good night, everyone. Help us stack chairs. We would appreciate your muscle. Thank you.